I grew up in a small town in upstate New York. Back then, I was about 9 years old, small, quiet, afraid of the dark like most kids. Our house was old, built sometime in the 1950s, and every night it made noises. My parents said it was the pipes, but it always felt like something was alive in the walls. The worst part of my room wasn't the creaking floors or the faint scratching in the walls. It was the closet. It was a deep, narrow thing with wooden folding doors, and for as long as I can remember, I never liked it. At night, I used to see it slightly open, just a sliver, enough for the darkness to breathe out into my room. And that's where everything started. One night, I woke up around 3 a.m., that cliche horror hour. I remember because my digital alarm clock glowed 3:07 in the darkness. The air felt heavy. Still, my nightlight flickered for a moment and then stayed dim. That's when I heard it. A whisper, not from the hallway, not from outside, but from inside the closet. At first, I thought it was the wind brushing through the cracks in the old house. But then it came again, clearer, like someone was mimicking my voice. Daniel. It said my name, my exact name, the way my mom says it when she's disappointed. I froze. I didn't move. Then I whispered, "Mom." No answer. I stared at the closet door. It was open just an inch wider now. I swear it hadn't been like that before. I pulled the blanket over my head, shaking. I didn't sleep again that night. At breakfast, I told my mom what happened. She laughed, said it was probably a dream. But my dad, he didn't laugh. He looked at me for a second too long, then told me, "Don't talk to voices that call your name at night, Danny. That's how you invite them." He said it like it was a warning, not a joke. That night, I made sure the closet was shut tight. I even pushed my toy chest against it for good measure. But around 2:45 a.m., something woke me up again. It wasn't a voice this time, it was breathing. Slow, wet, human breathing. And it was coming from behind the closet door. I could hear something shifting behind the wood, pressing against the door like it was trying to get out. The toy chest rattled softly. Then, the whisper came back. "Daniel, let me out. It's cold." I screamed. My parents ran in, but when they turned on the light, everything was normal. The toy chest hadn't moved. The closet was closed, and they didn't believe a word I said. The next morning, my favorite toy, a stuffed blue bear, was gone. I tore the room apart looking for it. When my mom helped me move the toy chest away from the closet, I froze. There, sitting just inside the dark crack of the closet, was the bear. But it looked wrong. Its fur was damp, like it had been left in water, and its head was turned backward. Mom said I must have put it there by accident, but I knew I hadn't opened that closet since the night before. That night, I dreamed of the closet. I was standing in front of it, but the doors were gone, just an endless dark tunnel stretching backward. And from that darkness, a figure crawled out. It looked like me, but its face was twisted. It smiled too wide, eyes black and wet. It said, "You left me in the dark too long." Then it lunged, and I woke up screaming. By now, I was terrified of my own room. My parents thought I was losing it. But that final night, they finally saw something too. Around midnight, the storm outside got worse. Wind howled. The house groaned. Then, the closet door opened by itself. My mom gasped. My dad ran toward it and froze. Because from the darkness, a small pale hand reached out. It was the size of a child's hand, but it wasn't mine. My dad slammed the door shut, dragged the toy chest in front of it, and told us to pack our things. We left that house that night, in the middle of the storm. I'm 28 now. I don't live in New York anymore. But sometimes when I visit my parents, I drive by that old house. It's still there, same pale blue paint, same window to my childhood room. Last month, I saw it again. Someone new lives there now. And through the window, I saw a kid's nightlight flickering. And for a split second, I swear I saw a small pale hand reach out from the closet and wave. Some closets never stay closed. When I was 10, my family moved into an old house in a quiet Illinois neighborhood. It was the kind of house that felt tired. The paint was peeling, the steps creaked, and the air inside always smelled faintly like damp earth. The realtor told us the basement had been closed off for safety reasons. But my dad, a construction guy, said that was ridiculous. He pried the wooden boards off the basement door on the very first day we moved in. When he opened it, a cold gust rushed out. It smelled like wet soil and rust. We all laughed nervously, trying to make it feel normal. But even then, something about that darkness below didn't feel empty. That first night, I woke up thirsty and went downstairs for water. As I passed the basement door, I heard something, a soft tapping from the other side. I stopped. Talp, talp, talp. It was rhythmic, almost polite, like someone was knocking softly. Then a whisper followed. "Can you play with me?" It sounded like a little boy's voice. I froze. My first thought was that one of the neighborhood kids had somehow come inside. But the voice came again, from deep below. "Please? I'm lonely down here." I turned and ran back to my room, leaving the kitchen light on behind me. The next morning, I told my parents what I heard. Mom said I probably dreamed it, but Dad decided to check the basement anyway. He opened the door, shined his flashlight down the wooden steps, and frowned. He said there were tiny footprints in the dust, barefoot, small like a child's. He brushed it off as probably mine from exploring earlier, even though I hadn't gone down there. That night, he nailed the door shut again. A week later, a thunderstorm rolled through. The power went out. In the silence that followed, I could hear it again, tapping. Only this time, it wasn't soft. It was frantic. And behind it, I heard crying. "Let me out. Please, it's dark." It sounded like a boy, desperate, terrified. I ran to my parents' room, but they were still asleep. When I came back to the hallway, the tapping had stopped. Instead, something else caught my attention. There were fresh handprints pressed against the wood, small, smeared, and wet. The next morning, my dad finally called the police. They checked the basement. When they came back up, their faces were pale. They asked my parents to step outside. Later, I overheard one of the officers say something I'll never forget. "Looks like an old play area, but there's a small mattress down there. And bones, child-sized." They found remains buried under the dirt, near the back corner of the basement. Turns out, decades before we moved in, a little boy had gone missing in our neighborhood. He was never found, until that day. That night, we stayed at a motel. My parents tried to keep me calm, told me everything would be fine. But around 2 a.m., I woke up. The air was freezing. My breath fogged the dark. And I heard it, that same small voice. "You found me." I turned toward the bathroom door. A boy stood there, dripping wet, his skin gray and cracked. He was smiling. "Now it's your turn to play." I screamed. My parents ran in, turned on the light, and he was gone. The bathroom mirror was fogged over. But in the condensation, a message had been traced with a small finger. "Thank you. We never went back to that house." It was torn down a year later. I live in another state now, far from Illinois. But sometimes when I take a shower, the bathroom mirror fogs up, and faintly, I see the same words appear again. "Thank you." I don't think he ever really left the basement. I think he just followed me out. When I was 8 years old, my parents moved us to the country, a quiet little town in Ohio where the closest neighbor was half a mile away. I didn't mind. I liked the space, the silence. But our new house had something strange about it. There was a window in my room that faced the cornfield, tall stalks that swayed even when there was no wind. And sometimes when the sun went down, I'd see something moving between them. The first night we moved in, I stayed up late staring out the window. The moonlight made the corn shimmer silver. Then I saw her, a little girl, maybe my age, wearing a white dress. She stood just at the edge of the cornfield, staring up at my window. She didn't wave. She didn't move. She just watched me until I finally pulled the curtains shut. When I told my mom in the morning, she said maybe I'd seen a reflection or a scarecrow. But I knew what I saw. It wasn't a reflection, and it definitely wasn't a scarecrow. A few nights later, I woke up to a sound, a faint tapping at my window. At first, I thought it was rain, but the sky was clear. Then came a voice, soft, whispering. "Can you come play?" It was a little girl's voice. I sat up in bed and looked toward the window. She was there, her face pressed against the glass, her eyes too wide, her skin pale like wax. She smiled. "Come outside, please." I screamed. My parents came running, but when they turned on the light, she was gone. Only a single small handprint remained on the glass. A few days later, my mom was talking to our neighbor, an older man who'd lived in the area his whole life. He asked how I was settling in. Mom laughed nervously and mentioned the imaginary friend I kept seeing outside. The man's face changed instantly. He said quietly, "You mean the little girl in white?" My mom froze. He told her that 30 years ago, A girl named Emily had lived in that house. One night, she went out to play in a cornfield and never came back. They searched for weeks, but all they ever found was one of her shoes, near the window of what used to be her bedroom, the same room I was sleeping in. That night, I woke up to the sound of rain pounding against the glass. The storm was bad, thunder shaking the walls. Then I heard it, not tapping, not whispering, like fingernails dragging down the window from the outside. I sat up, heart racing. Lightning flashed, and I saw her again. She was closer this time, right against the glass. Her lips moved, but I couldn't hear her through the rain. Another flash of lightning, and suddenly, she wasn't outside anymore. She was inside the room. She whispered, "It's so cold out there. Can I stay with you?" I couldn't move, couldn't scream. She climbed onto the bed and lay beside me. Her skin was ice cold, her hair damp against my cheek. Then she smiled. "Now you'll never be alone again." When I woke up, the bed was empty, but my pillow was wet, soaked like something had been lying there all night. A few days later, my mom was unpacking an old box of photographs we'd found in the attic. She called me over. In one of the faded pictures, a family stood in front of our house, smiling. And there she was, that same girl, the one from my window, standing by the cornfield, barefoot, in the same white dress. On the back of the photo, in shaky handwriting, it said, "Emily, summer 1974. Last picture taken. We left that house not long after. My parents said it was because of money, but I knew the real reason. On our last night there, I went to my window one last time. The cornfield was still. The air was heavy. Then, for the first time, she smiled and waved. Not that eerie, empty stare, just a sad, tired smile. And then she turned and walked back into the corn. I never saw her again. I'm 25 now. I live in the city, far from cornfields or old farmhouses. But every year around the same time, early October, I wake up to find my bedroom window fogged over. And there's always a handprint on the glass. Small, pale, perfectly shaped. I don't know if she ever found peace, or if she's just waiting for me to come back. Still hearing whispers after the story? Eyes? Comment, "I'm not scared" if you dare. Like, share, and subscribe to True Nightmar, where every tale is real and every night gets darker.